All right, I'm at the Evangelical Free Church. This is out here in Sydney, Nebraska. Nebraska is a very beautiful state. If you had told me years ago, before I came into the awareness of organized stalking and harassment, gang stalking, all that, that I would end up passing through or even living in the state of Nebraska, I would have said you were crazy. But nevertheless, it's one of the places I've always wanted to visit. I remember watching some movies back in the day that were filmed in Nebraska, whatever, or parts in Nebraska. It is very cold. Not as cold as it could be. Not yet anyways. This is one of the states where, you know, it snows a lot when that time of season comes around. Just gonna go for a little walk here. Glorious sun with the mix of the chemtrails going on there. Just exploring a little bit. Sure word gets around that I park at church parking lots, even in doing the transport job. No, he's harmless. He's just parking there to get some rest, and you know, he'll be on his way after a time. Hopefully that's what's being said. I'm thankful to some of these places that don't call law enforcement. I've had a couple places that, you know, would call law enforcement or whatever. These look interesting here. Let's see. It smells piney, like a kind of like peppermint smell, piney smell. That's a shame. I love nature, but half these little plants and shrubs, I don't even know what they're called. It's okay. I'm sure what we call them, that's not what the Creator calls them, right? Names are important for identifying purposes, I guess. This smells really good. I want to get a bunch of this and like put it in a container and just sniff along the way of my journey. Yeah, so I came out from Indiana and I'm all the way here in Nebraska, headed to another destination. headed to Utah is where I'm going. And once again, I can confirm this crap is everywhere. This stalking, whatever you want to call it, it's so sad. It's like when you first get into a state, you can almost have like peace for a little bit, and then you sleep and then wake up. It's like everything's been broadcasted. Oh, he's here, alert, alert. You know, it's just like the weirdest, craziest thing. When Ted Gunderson said that there is a problem, a witchcraft Satanist problem in this country, he was not lying. He was not lying, and it is more prevalent and widespread than what I thought. You know, sometimes instead of taking people's word for things, you want to kind of, you know, see for yourself. It's always important to do that. You know, a lot of people can say the same thing about something or a person, and you can almost immediately find truth in that. But on the flip side, especially when you're dealing with, look at how beautifully that sunlight shines on this grass. My capture's not capturing like the full beauty of it. I wish I could capture it from my point of view, like through my eyes. But yeah, like I said, it is more widespread and prevalent than what I could ever imagine. You know, and it's really sad to wake up to the reality that this is the type of world that we live in. It's terrible, you know, but it is what it is. We do what we got to do to survive. Look at this view. I really have to invest in like one of those name brand cameras. Get more like of a high definition type of footage of everything. There's the parking lot of the church. That's the vehicle I'm transporting off in the distance. That's one thing that these criminals do not like, is exposure. They don't like the cameras. And some of the things that these people do, a lot of what they do, not just some, is just very snaky when you see how they operate. They scan you just to see where your cameras are at. They get intel. Some of them do, not all of them. I've caught some of them by surprise. They try to enact a shenanigan or go off of some script or instruction on something to say or something to do. And then they get blindsided like a deer in the headlights, you know, because I'm recording, or I had surveillance posted somewhere watching them. It's very important with my life that I have to have cameras on me, because these are some extremely wicked and evil people. Extremely evil and wicked. And I've gotten footages of some of the harassment I've experienced, and even in going to some of these gas stations. You know, these people get alerted ahead of time. And I'll be sharing those videos at some point. You know, you try your best to focus on other things and not pay too much attention to what these creatures do. But it does say, be sober and vigilant, for your adversary the devil roams about like a lion, seeking whom he may devour. So it's important to pay attention with a lot of it, actually. It's important to know the devices of Satan so that you're not blindsided. One of the reasons as to parking in these churches is because churches are supposed to be known as places of sanctuary. You know, for the weary, you know, the less fortunate, for the hopeless, for the faithless, you know, in hopes of restoring hope and faith. And I still have hope and faith, don't get me wrong. But one of the reasons why I park here, just mentioning one, is to catch these perpetrators. You know, most of these people, especially in neighborhoods like this, which appear to be well-to-do, very nice homes, You know, most of these people that live around here, they have their own homes. They have residences. They have places that they live. So if I were to park at a church parking lot and someone shows up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, or 12 p.m. or 10 p.m., you know, times like that, I have a reason as to why I'm here, you know. I am a contractor for this company. I work for myself, but I am homeless. I do not have a residence currently. So this job keeps me on the move. So if you're parked at a church parking lot and you have individuals showing up, especially outside of church hours, and you are a survivor of this harassment, and you know the tactics, you know when you go places, they're dispatched to those locations, it's very easy to catch them. So it's a strategy and tactic that's used. It has nothing to do with being a trespasser or anything of that sort. I'm not doing anything nefarious on church grounds. You know, I'm not in my vehicle jacking off. I'm not having sex. And I'm just simply trying to have a spot to be at, to have peace from these creatures that continuously seek after us and follow us everywhere that we go. So that's my whole intent for people that may watch this video that run the churches and stuff like that. And I know it's a lot of Freemasonry that's involved with a lot of these churches nowadays. You have churches that are, is it 501c or C3 or something like that? You know, they have to do the bidding of the government, you know, so that they're tax exempt. You know, pretty much in a nutshell as to how that goes. But it's one of the best ways to catch your perpetrators. Parking in places that, you know, normally people wouldn't be at or parked at, especially outside of business hours. Now, it's important to know the laws of the land in regards to trespassing. You know, some places are very strict in regards to that. Most places, if not all, you're supposed to get a warning, you know, before an arrest or a ticket citation. But, you know, that's one thing that you are forced to do is when you're put in this predicament and situation. When I became homeless, I was forced to learn the laws of the land, because I not only was I trying to lift myself up out of the poverty, out of the homelessness, I was also trying to protect myself from these perpetrators and having safe spots that I could be at to where I'm not harmed or trafficked, drugged and trafficked and stuff like that, or worse or whatever, you know. So that's why I park in these conspicuous, is that the right word, places. It's a tactic, it's a strategy. And I noticed even when I was in the state of Texas, parking at church parking lots when they couldn't send their perps, law enforcement all of a sudden started showing up. So that was an indication to me that there was some sort of involvement with corrupt law enforcement. And I'm going to mention this, not all police officers, not all federal agents are bad people. You know, I can attest firsthand to getting help in indirect ways. So I'm only speaking of the corrupt ones, the ones that do not uphold the Constitution, the ones who have set themselves against the citizens of this country. And this problem is not just a nationwide USA problem. This shit is worldwide. It's not just here. You know, I don't have to go overseas to know that this shit is going on over there. Just by me traveling, getting out of my box and traveling around to all these different states that I've been in, man, the heartbreak and seeing how beautiful a lot of these places are. And yet you have these wicked people that have no lives, that have no souls, that seek to set themselves out against one person in an area. And I know I'm not the only person going through this. There's a lot of other targeted people going through this. I don't even think that there's like a whole lot of TIs, to be honest with you. Just considering the number of people that are dispatched to one location for one person, you know, it can't be that many TIs, you know. But anyways, I'm still not happy. I've said this before in other videos. I may have not. I don't remember. But I'm grateful to be to have income. It could be worse. I could be in a position where I have no income, sleeping under a bridge somewhere. But the fact that I have income and I'm not able to enjoy it, it's sad. It's like you're working. It's like you're slaving, essentially. You have no sense of freedom, no sense of privacy. You're just working just to work, to have the bare minimum to take care of yourself, and that's all that you're allowed in this matrix. If you're a person that's like me, just the bare minimum. You got these tares that are such haters. They don't want to see you have nothing. They definitely don't want to see you have more than them or even equal to them. So they take measures to sabotage, to keep you in a position to where you're not able to move up financially. And it's just sick. It's very sad. And I've given these types of people chances, these tares. Hell, I almost took one for a bride. Then realizing what she was. I mean, I knew what she was, but I figured, hey, it's about love, right? These tares, they go around wearing their Jesus Christ shirts and shirts about love one another. We are all one. But that's not the action that I see from them. They're preaching it, but that's not what they're showing. They like to antagonize. They like to provoke. They like to participate in these mischievous activities against us. And then when we react and respond, rightfully so, naturally so, if you have a soul, your soul tells you that it's an injustice what these things, these people or creatures are doing. Your soul tells you that. So you are right in reacting, provided that you do it in an intelligent manner. I'm not talking about going wild and crazy. That's what they want, right? So they can record it and say, oh, look, we told you he was crazy. But I am thankful that there are law enforcement agents that are aware of what's going on and they see what's happening, because a lot of these people like to make us out to be the bad people. But it seems, or maybe I'm delusional, but it appears as if there are people that are recognizing what's going on with people. I posted a quote from Dave Chappelle, one of the best comedians, of his time. To call someone crazy is dismissive. I don't understand this person. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe their environment is a little sick. That is so relevant to what the targeted individual, the survivor of organized stalking and harassment, goes through. That's what we deal with, sick, twisted individuals. And these people they're some of the most upstanding looking people in the community, clean cut, nice clothes, people in the churches, people in hospitals, people in all types of professions that you would think would have a level of morale to them, but no, they all participate, and they feel that they have safety in doing so because there's multitudes of people doing it. If we all think that he's crazy, if they're all doing this to him, then we must be right. Majority carries the vote, as they say, right? Against one person. Can you imagine, to the unwitting person that doesn't know what this is like, going places and people being alerted and dispatched to your location for the sole purpose of acting out an agenda? It's like everyone around you has a script except you. Someone has pulled up to the church now. Now, I'm not threatened, or anything like that. I'm just making note of it. But yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad. Some sick, twisted game been stalked by these cults of people that have this profound belief that we should be killed, that we should be sacrificed, and they all participate in it to account for their sins. How stupid and crazy is that? These people need to be eradicated and wiped off the face of the earth. That's what needs to happen to them. And as I said before, I almost took one for a bride myself before I realized that no matter how much you love these people, they're still going to treat you like shit. They're still going to do snake stuff behind your back. You know? So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you do. These people have set themselves against me and people like me. They have waged war against me. I have not waged war against anyone. I am in defense mode constantly, every day, every second, every minute of the day. Having to watch my back, having to be careful, having to be cautious. Do you know what that can do to a person mentally over time? I'll say it again. They have waged war against me and others like me. I'm not waging war against no one, just to be clear. And I've said these things in the past, but sometimes, you know, you got to do, you got to repeat just so people know. I am being systematically attacked. And there are multitudes of people that are participating. This is not mental illness. This is very real. This is a very real thing that is going on. It takes a very strong-minded person to survive what I have survived as long as I have. I've been going through this shit since birth. I've said this before. 2014 was when I came into the awareness of something called gang stalking or organized stalking and harassment. Some people have said the CIA came up with that terminology, gang stalking. Can you imagine going to the police and saying I'm being gang stalked and them looking like, what are you talking about? But like I said, there's a lot more talk of this on the news and in social media and stuff like that. So people are recognizing it. I'd advise if you have to go to the police, I would still say don't mention gang stalking. Say cyber stalking. Because I've mentioned that term to law enforcement in the past, and they're more receptive to that as opposed to like gang stalking. Because cyber stalking can include people coming to your house, different people coming to your house, or following you around. It's all incorporated into that. So that's a better term to use, in my opinion. I wasn't a perp cough. It's cold. My throat is dry, so I don't want to trigger nobody. It's pretty breezy. But I'm just trying to survive. I know that you're trying to survive. The best bit of advice is just to continue to be strong. I can't say that this is going to end soon. I mean, some people have said in the past, oh, it's going to be this month or the end of the year, but then, if you're, you read the Bible and stuff, according to the Bible, not even the angels of heaven know when, right? Or maybe this is just something that's said to keep people passive and not taking action against what's happening. That's something to think about as well. There are a lot of things that are very contradictory in that Bible. They've been said, things have been taken out, added in. From my understanding, you get knowledge from all different places. They're not going to put all the knowledge you need to know of the world in one spot, right? They're not going to put all the secrets of the world in one spot for you to see. So there's all types of knowledge in all different places. And I can attest to that. Going through what we go through, it makes you question the Bible. It makes you question everything in this reality. So I am not wrong in feeling that way, nor is it a sin. These people want to put their sins off on us and scapegoat us and then make us pay for the evil that they are doing. And that's not going to fly. I'm always going to protect myself and stand up for myself. Always. And so should you. I even tried to give Walmart a chance last night. I tried to park. Someone suggested, hey, just try Walmart or whatever. Nope. And I knew it. I still just went over there anyways and tried to park and have some peace there. But there was a camper that I pulled up, not right next to, like the parking lot had vehicles everywhere. It really wasn't that packed, but I pulled up and there was like this other camper that was like maybe 10 parking spaces away or something like that. It was a smaller camper. It was an older couple. And, you know, they were kind of looking my way or whatever. And the wife went to the back, she went in, and then the husband was still, you know, like checking around the vehicle and, you know, doing whatever he was doing. And, you know, he just kept looking my way. So I got out the vehicle and, you know, we kind of met halfway. He was like, hey, he was like, hey, neighbor. I was like, hey. And, you know, we talked for a minute or whatever. You know, he told me, you know, where he was headed and all that. I told him, and it was a nice little interaction, you know. Kept it brief. You know, I didn't want to give too much information because obviously, you know, when you talk to strangers in our situations, it's like you kind of have to determine if it's someone that you can, you know, kind of trust or whatever. Really, you can't trust anyone. But you know, everything seemed cool, whatever. And so we part ways. You know, he goes back to his camper. I go back to the company's camper. Excuse me. And he gets, after some time, he gets, I notice he's still kind of like looking my way or whatever after I get back in the camper. No big deal, you know, whatever. And he gets back in his camper. And then after some time, he comes back out and his clothes are changed and he's wearing all blue. You know, like almost like he got the alert and something changed. And then he changed his clothes real quick. You know how these people like to do color codes. I truly, the color thing does not affect me. I notice it. I see it. I think it's stupid. I think these people are retarded for doing the stuff that they do. You know? But hey, that's part of the being in the cult, right? When you have the cult mindset, the hive mind mindset, and he innocently just could have been putting on those clothes. Like they just so happen to be blue. There, you have to take that into account as well. I mean, the guy didn't really do anything to me. We just had a little conversation. He went back in his camper and changed his clothes and walked into Walmart. So it wasn't like he was lurking around my camper or anything like that. But, you know, you observe and see things and you just kind of catalog things. Sometimes it is good to kind of shut off your brain too. But aside from that, you know, the regular Walmart perps, customers that come there, you know, or just perps that are just looking to mess with the targeted individual, whatever, you know, they started sending people over there. And so I was like, yep, it's time for me to go. So I came here at the church parking lot and I didn't get bothered all night. So that was good. So I gave Walmart a chance. The Walmart's a no-go for me parking there, I guess you could say. Yes, they have cameras, but I don't trust other people's cameras. You know, hell, I'm starting not to be able to trust my own cameras because these people had these techie people, these hackers, you know, the people that are involved with the technical side of our harassment that hack our devices and make the battery go from 100 to 0 within like less than a minute. You know, those people, they've been doing that with my cameras. So when I go into stores or there are things that I really need to record to expose these people, I'm starting to notice now more than ever that they're manipulating my camera. And I have several devices. They're manipulating them all now, you know. So it's crazy. It is insane. So if anything happens, I'm going to say this right now, and my camera cuts out, just know that they did it and they're trying to cover up for something nefarious that they're trying to do for me. So if I'm in a position to where something happens, I'm going to say it again. If my camera cuts out, I didn't cut off my camera. They did. So Sydney, Nebraska is where I'm at. This church has been fine so far. You know, like I said, I haven't had any problems here, so I know I posted or showed the name of the church and stuff, so I'm not trying to put shade on it or anything like that. It's been all right here so far, so just to be clear on that. I don't want to be a false accuser or whatever. Are there churches that are not run by Masons? Is that possible? I guess maybe like in the hoods somewhere or something. I don't know. There's a lot of witches and warlocks that have taken over these places. I mean, hell, I'm not saying nothing that's not true. Throughout many years, you know, pastors being exposed for homosexuality, homosexual acts, you know, being married to a woman and then secretly having, you know, relations with men. You know, it's just terrible. I think I mentioned how I would park at churches in the past and no one would ever walk out to ask me if I needed anything or if I was all right. You know, you would think, you know, people would do that, considering, especially, you know, if they consider themselves Christians. But there was one time in the state of Missouri, I may have mentioned this before, but the only reason why this lady came out and talked to me was because I had posted a video prior mentioning what I just mentioned, how I go to some of these churches and they'll see me when I was living out my car, and I would show up at the church, you know, maybe a couple days at a time. I would leave, go somewhere else, come back. None of these places would have someone come out and be like, hey, you know, what can we do for you? You know, you would think. And they're supposed to be Christians. But I had made that post, that video about it. And then all of a sudden someone shows up and asks me. And this was in the state of Missouri. Missouri hates me, by the way. Every time I go through that state, I hate traveling through that state. They do not like me there, you know. I had never been to the state of Missouri before, but it doesn't even matter, you know. If you are of the world would love you as its own, right? As it says. So I'm not surprised. But some places are worse than others. You know, you got some places where you have fans, you know. There are people that will do things, these gestures, to kind of let me know, like, hey, they're on my team, you know, type thing. Like the tree climb videos I did in the past, the stretches I would do before climbing the tree. You know, I would see certain people do stuff. And it's kind of cool to see that, you know. It kind of gets your hope up, like, you know, like not everyone's against you type thing. But anyways, this is being very childlike, right? Like, what other person do you know that does this? You know, just park at a church parking lot and then venture off into its, you know, into the fields, into the rest of the property and stuff. I mean no harm. They get alerts. They get alerts. I'm not one of these people that's on the news trying to shoot up churches or nothing like that. And a lot of those stories are made up, I believe. It's all about fear, order out of chaos, right? They have to create the chaos, create the feel and need for more security, more police. You know, in order to do that, they have to create that narrative. So, sucks for me parking at church parking lots, because, you know, then they're going to look at me like, oh, is he one of these people? That's, you know, it just fits the narrative and agenda so well. But I have no fear. The universe, the Most High knows my intent, knows my heart. Even the enemy knows my intent, knows my heart. So I have nothing to worry about. I'm enjoying the sceneries. That part of it I am enjoying. I know my channel's been shadow banned, especially if you have a lot of newer TIs that are going through this. They probably cut me off from my videos reaching them, and I just got these same low-life perps that are watching my channel, commenting and stuff like that, using sock puppet accounts or different accounts to act like they're a different person. I wasn't supposed to survive this long, so they definitely don't want newer TIs to hear anything I have to say, because I'm not supposed to be breathing right now. I got people giving me death threats about hanging me, going off into some of these places, just constant death threats. Hang me for what? You know? For dating a woman that I love or loved, or wanting to date a woman that I care for, you know, like, I should be killed for that. There's a lot of people that don't agree with that. So if something does happen to me, I pity the fool. I pity the fool. There's a lot of people that don't agree with that, especially this day and age. Racism still exists. There are a lot of people that are covert with it. A lot of people that have a lot of secret hate against people that don't have the same hue of skin as others. Yeah, I've said this before, black people are some of the most hated people in all over the world. And I'm not saying anything that's not true. And I don't play race cards or nothing like that. I grew up in predominantly Caucasian neighborhoods, went to predominantly Caucasian schools. I mean, I've lived in different socioeconomic statuses. The wealthy, well-to-do, the ghetto. I mean, I've experienced it all. I've seen a lot. And it's just sad, you know. It's just sad for people to have that type of hate, whether overtly, and it's worse to have it secretly. I'd rather know that person's racist, you know, than someone who's secretly racist. Anyways, I'm going to stop this footage. Just keep your heads up, you know, just keep pushing, keep striving. I have my days where I'm just not so, you know, I don't feel so good about this reality. I mean, I never do, but, you know, we're here. And I try to take measures to reach out or to have camaraderie with others that appear to be going through it. But it seems like whenever I try to do that, there's a narrative to flip the script on me to make it seem like I'm being a weirdo or something, when my heart and my intent was pure. So we are in this alone, sadly, but, you know, we just got to see it through to the end, right? He who endures until the end shall be saved, as they say. So, along for that day and time. Thanks for watching and listening.